Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Harry's Music Room. This is a video and an ongoing, I guess you'd call it a video, vinyl community thread. One album, one decade. And it was started by Spinz Vinyl, and I will put a link below to his channel. I was made aware of it through a video by Mr. HOF Fame, and then he mentioned that Chance was doing a video on it as well. So those three people brought me to this thread. One album, one decade. Well, I was born in the 50s, and so the first album I'm going to show is from the 50s, and that's going to be Fats Domino. I honestly feel that without Fats, you wouldn't have had Elvis, or I mean, he was rock and roll, he was R&B, he had it all, and he had so many good songs. Blueberry Hill is on here, Blue Monday, You Done Me Wrong, The Fat Man's Hop. If you're not familiar with Fats Domino, pick up even a compilation like the best of. You can get them very reasonably priced, and you can't go wrong. You can't go wrong with him. So that was the 50s. So now we come to the 1960s, and without a doubt, it's got to be Meet the Beatles. This album changed my life, literally changed my life. I saw them on Ed Sullivan the first night. First Beatles song I ever heard was All My Lovin', because that was a song they opened with on Ed Sullivan that night. And the next day of school, that's all the kids were talking about. And this got me into music, and I've never looked back. So then we go to the 70s. And for me, one of the best bands of the 70s and one of my favorite albums from the 70s is Creedence Clearwater Revival, Green River. I remember I was living with my mother in Florida at the time that this album came out. And we went into a local store. It was a supermarket, actually, but they had a very small section of vinyl. So I saw this album, and she bought it for me. And it was the first Creedence album that I owned, and to this day, still my favorite. So many great songs. Green River, Commotion, Tombstone Shadow. Wrote a song for everyone. Bad Moon Rising, Lodi. I mean, guy could write some songs. So that got us through the 70s. The 80s came around, and although this is not my favorite Springsteen album, this is the album that got me into his music and made me a fan. My favorite album would be Wild, the Innocent, and the E Street Shuffle. But this, I went out, I bought tickets to his concert based on an article I read in, I think it was People magazine, that said he was putting on the best live show that there was. And he was coming to town, like in a month. So I read that article. I bought tickets for the Tacoma Dome. And man, was I a fan. And I still am a fan. So that's the 80s. Now we go to the 90s. And let me give a shout out here for a local guitar store, Guitar Maniacs in Tacoma, Washington. So we go to the 90s, and I'm still a Springsteen fanatic. And he comes out with The Ghost of Tom Joad, which is like, I guess you could almost say it's like Nebraska, but darker sometimes. A lot of times. Such a great album. His songwriting is just amazing. The only person that I would put in his league for songwriting right now, possibly Jason Isbell. But this is a fantastic album. So we got through the 90s. Now we're in the 2000s. And I'm going to show you Ryan Adams Gold. Just a perfect album in my opinion. So many great songs. Ryan Adams is another fantastic songwriter. Prolific as hell. I love the Whiskey Town. I love Pneumonia. I pretty much like everything he's done, although I'm not a big fan of the Cardinals stuff, but otherwise I'm a big fan. And then that brings us to let's see, we went through the 2010. Now we're going to go 2010 to 2020. And if you watch my videos, you know I've shown this band before, the Flat Five. This is such a feel-good, just fun record to listen to. Superb musicianship, great songwriting, harmonies. Like if you love rock, pop, like it says sunshine pop, harmonies, you've got to listen to the Flat Five. They're out of Chicago. Just a great band. And then two of the members are in NRBQ, and that would be this gentleman here and this gentleman here. They've got 2 albums out, and I highly recommend both albums. The music will definitely grow on you. It's just feel-good music. And that gets us to the current decade. And this is a guy who's been doing it. I could have almost pulled a record out for every decade just for Bob Dylan. He is as good as he ever was. And Rough and Rowdy Ways is just such a great album. He hasn't lost a thing. The lyrics are still there. People that say he can't sing, I got to disagree. Murder Most Foul. Wow, what a song. So Bob Dylan, Rough and Rowdy Ways wraps it up for me. I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys are going to show for your one record, one decade. And thanks to Spinz Vinyl for this idea. It's a lot of fun. And I want to thank you guys for watching. And until next time, ciao.